Chosen one stopped scrolling. They whispered your name in doubt. They watched you fall and assumed it was the end. But what they never understood was that your collapse was a cocoon. Stay with me, because what's awakening inside you was never meant to be stopped. They thought your silence meant defeat. They mistook your quiet for weakness. They thought your isolation was surrender. They assumed your absence meant you were finished. But silence was where you were rebuilt, piece by something higher. You weren't disappearing. You were being removed from distractions. While they laughed, you were learning. While they judged, you were being prepared. What looks like disappearance to the world is often divine focus. And you were chosen for it. That's why they could never follow you there. The fall that was actually a rise. Your breakdown wasn't random. It was orchestrated. Everything that collapsed had an expiration date. And you felt it, even when you couldn't explain it. You lost people. You lost direction. You lost the version of yourself that tried to fit in. But what you gained was vision. Chosen ones don't rise loudly at first. They rise internally. And by the time the world notices, it's already too late to stop them. Why chosen ones are always misunderstood. You were never meant to blend in. Your energy disrupts comfort zones. Your presence exposes truth. And truth makes people uncomfortable. That's why they labeled you difficult. Too intense. Too quiet. Too different. But difference is the mark. If everyone understands you, you're probably not walking a chosen path. Your calling requires separation before elevation. The awakening they tried to delay. There comes a moment when your eyes open. You start seeing patterns. You feel energy shift. You realize not everyone is meant to come with you. That awakening threatened them. Because a conscious soul can't be controlled. A healed mind can't be manipulated. And a chosen spirit can't be silenced forever. They tried doubt. They tried delay. They tried distraction. But awakening doesn't ask permission. Signs you were never meant to stay small. You've always felt watched by something greater. You sense things before they happen. You feel drained in crowds but powerful in solitude. And you've survived things that should have broken you. That's not luck. That's protection. That's assignment. That's proof you're not ordinary. Chosen ones are forged through pressure. Because only pressure reveals strength. Only darkness reveals light. And only resistance reveals purpose. Why they're nervous about your comeback. Your comeback isn't loud, but it's permanent. You don't need revenge. Your growth is the response. Your peace is the proof. They sense your shift before you speak. They feel your energy before you move. Because when a chosen one rises, the entire room changes frequency. You're no longer seeking approval. You're no longer explaining yourself. You're no longer shrinking to be accepted. That's when they know you're unstoppable. The power you found in solitude. Isolation taught you discernment. Pain taught you boundaries. Loss taught you value. And silence taught you strength. You stopped chasing. You stopped proving. You stopped begging for recognition. And that's when everything aligned. Chosen ones don't glow for attention. They glow because they've been through fire. And fire doesn't destroy the chosen. It reveals them. This is the phase they can't interrupt. What's coming isn't fragile. It's grounded. It's rooted. It's divinely protected. You're moving with clarity now. With intention. With authority. And that changes everything. They thought you were done. but you were being upgraded. They thought you were broken, but you were being refined. If this spoke to your soul, it's not coincidence. You were meant to hear this now. Your season of hiding is over. Your season of movement has begun. Stand in your truth. Walk without apology. Trust what's awakening inside you. You are not late, you are right on time. If you felt this message, like this video to anchor the energy. Comment "I'm unstoppable" if you know this awakening is real. Subscribe to Chosen Wave and tell me, what part of your journey changed you the most? When the old version of you had to die, there was a version of you that couldn't come forward. Not because it was weak, but because it was limited. And the mission ahead required more. You tried to hold on to what was familiar. Old habits, old connections, old dreams that were too small for your spirit. And that's when the collapse began. Chosen ones don't lose things by accident. They are stripped on purpose, because you can't carry outdated identities into a new dimension of power. The loneliness that rewired you. There were nights no one checked on you. Days when you felt invisible. Moments when even prayer felt heavy. And yet you stayed. That loneliness wasn't abandonment. It was rewiring. It was teaching you how to hear your own intuition. How to trust divine timing over human validation. Now you don't fear being alone. You fear being misaligned. And that shift alone makes you dangerous in the best way. Why your energy feels different now. You don't react the same anymore. Things that once triggered you now barely touch you. That's not numbness, that's mastery. Your nervous system healed. Your spirit matured. Your discernment sharpened. And people can feel it without you saying a word. That's why conversations feel shallow now. That's why crowds feel loud. That's why your circle got smaller. Your frequency rose, and not everyone can reach it. The divine protection you didn't notice. Look back at the doors that closed, the plans that failed, the people who walked away. Some of those were rescues, not losses. What didn't work was never meant to survive the next version of you. What left would have slowed you down. What broke was never built to last. Chosen ones are protected even in confusion. Especially in confusion. That's when unseen forces work the hardest. They felt you shift before you did. Some people distanced themselves suddenly. Others became passive-aggressive. Some tried to re-enter your life with curiosity. They felt something change. When your spirit upgrades, it sends a signal. Those aligned feel inspired. Those misaligned feel threatened. You didn't become arrogant. You became authentic. And authenticity is intimidating. To those still wearing masks, the strength you gained from surviving yourself. Your hardest battles weren't external. They were internal. Overthinking, self-doubt, spiritual exhaustion. You had to confront your own shadow, your fears, your coping patterns, your need for approval. And you won. Quietly, painfully, completely. That's why nothing scares you the same anymore. You already faced the darkest parts of yourself and came back whole. Why this phase feels calm but heavy. This calm isn't emptiness. It's anticipation. It's the stillness before alignment. The pause before movement. You're no longer rushing. You're listening. You're no longer chasing signs. You're becoming one. Chosen ones move differently at this stage. Slow, intentional, unshakable. And that's exactly when breakthroughs happen. The moment you stopped explaining yourself. There was a shift when you realized not everyone deserves an explanation. Your truth doesn't need permission. Your journey doesn't need witnesses. You stopped correcting people's misunderstandings. You let them believe what they wanted. Because clarity comes from alignment, not from convincing. Chosen ones conserve energy. They speak when guided. They move when called. And silence becomes a language of power. While your past no longer defines you, they keep referencing who you used to be. Your mistakes, your confusion, your lowest moments. But you don't live there anymore. You learned the lesson. You paid the price. You integrated the wisdom. And you released the guilt. Growth makes people uncomfortable because it destroys their narratives. But you're not here to protect old stories. You're here to embody truth, the inner authority that activated. You no longer ask everyone for advice. You consult your intuition first, because you've learned the difference between noise and guidance. That inner voice became clearer. Once you stopped abandoning yourself, once you honored your boundaries, once you trusted your timing, chosen ones are led from within. That's why they can't be controlled. That's why they don't follow crowds. They follow alignment. Why you're no longer drawn to chaos. Drama used to feel normal. Intensity felt like passion. Struggle felt like love. But now it feels exhausting. You crave peace without boredom, depth without pain, connection without compromise. And that's not too much to ask. Your nervous system healed. Your standards rose. Your tolerance dropped. That's evolution, not isolation. The quiet confidence that's scaring them. You're not loud about your plans. You're not announcing your moves. You're not seeking validation. And that's unsettling. Because power that doesn't need attention is the most dangerous kind. You walk in rooms differently now. You sit in silence comfortably. Chosen ones don't threaten by force. They shift the atmosphere. They change dynamics. Just by being present. The season of preparation they never saw. While they were watching your absence, you were studying patterns. While they assumed you quit, you were mastering discipline. You learned patience. You learned restraint. You learned timing. And those lessons compound. Success arrived internally first. That's why when it manifests externally, it won't shock you. It will feel familiar. Why nothing can pull you back now. You've outgrown old temptations, old triggers, old versions of validation. And that's permanent. You know what misalignment feels like. Your body tells you. Your spirit warns you. And you listen now. Chosen ones don't repeat lessons. They integrate them. They move forward. And they don't look back. The detachment that changed everything. You stopped forcing outcomes. Stopped chasing timelines. Stopped gripping what was slipping away. And in that release, power returned. Detachment wasn't giving up. It was trusting higher intelligence. It was choosing alignment over anxiety. And peace over pressure. Chosen ones don't control life. They cooperate with it. And life responds differently. When you stop resisting the flow. Why old triggers no longer work. They tried to provoke you. To pull reactions from you. To reopen wounds that once bled easily. But nothing happened. Not because you're cold, but because you're healed. Because awareness replaced impulse. and consciousness replaced ego. When triggers stop working, manipulation fails, control dissolves, and your sovereignty becomes visible. The weight of the calling you carry. Sometimes the heaviness returns, not as sadness, but as responsibility, as knowing. You feel things deeply. You sense shifts before words form. You carry insight others avoid. And that can feel lonely. But that weight is assignment, not burden. You are trusted with depth, because you can handle truth without breaking. Why you can't go back even if you try. Even nostalgia feels different now. The old places don't fit. Old conversations feel repetitive. Old goals feel empty. Your spirit refuses regression. Your intuition blocks shortcuts. Your body reacts to misalignment instantly. There's no pretending anymore. Chosen ones don't burn bridges. They simply outgrow roads. And once the soul moves forward, it doesn't reverse. The invisible training you went through. Every delay trained patience. Every rejection built resilience. Every betrayal sharpened discernment. Nothing was wasted. You were trained in silence, in endurance, in observation, in restraint. Now when pressure comes, you don't panic. You respond, because you've already survived worse. While you're attracting different energy now, people approach you with curiosity, with respect, with hesitation. They sense depth. You no longer entertain shallow exchanges. Your presence demands authenticity. Your energy sets standards without words. And that's magnetic. Chosen ones don't chase attention. They attract alignment. And what's aligned finds them naturally. The stillness before the surge. This pause is not stagnation. It's calibration. It's the final alignment of timing and intent. Everything is syncing. Your thoughts are clearer. Your emotions steadier. Your vision sharper. That's not accidental. Momentum doesn't always feel loud. Sometimes it feels quiet, grounded, certain. If this message shook something inside you, don't ignore it. That reaction is your spirit recognizing truth. Like this video to lock this energy in. Subscribe to Chosen Wave if you know you're not here by accident. Comment, "I'm unstoppable," if you've survived what was meant to break you. And tell me this, what moment in your life forced your awakening to begin?